You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that has shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you have become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 27. Funny story, I was actually trying to record a meditation because a lot of my work, obviously meditation has been a massive thing for me and it's helped me so much, and I've been having really lovely feedback about how it's helped other people. So I was planning to record a guided meditation for healing your inner child. For some reason, it didn't want to come out. It just did not want to come out. I had the dog next door barking in the garden. I was like, couldn't get my words out. So something intuitively is telling me that right now, maybe that's not what people want to hear, or maybe I need to record the podcast episode first. Who knows? But anyway, you are delighted with the presence of myself today. And to be honest, I haven't really got a set topic of what I want to speak on. So I'm just going to kind of flow and see what happens, because I feel like sometimes they're the best ones. So I just wanted to kind of give you a bit of an overview about what's happening, because if you are following this to the date, we are currently in England at the moment going through autumn, which is fall in other parts of the world. And this is a real transformational time in the, nature. If we look at the leaves falling off the trees, they're changing. I mean, currently this is quite a warm autumn considering we are in England. But generally, the theme of this time of year is turning inward. Now, that is a really important time for a lot of people, because I think if you had a great summer, you would have been on a high, you would have really enjoyed it. And then slowly as the season starts to change, we start to think about, instead of our energy being outward, it comes inward, and this is really the importance of doing the self-work, really. And I think, this is something that I layer into my life always, because I think, one, being self-critical for a lot of my life, it was inevitable that I was doing this. Now, obviously, a lot of you know that I've lived quite a toxically masculine life. So when I'm saying I was looking inward, it was very surface level. It wasn't deep and all of that. But I feel like for every stage of my life, my journey, I've always been aware of myself to some degree. And that's obviously something I'm saying very loosely. But I think if I look at people that are 22, 23 now compared to how I was then, I can see that I always had a deeper layer of that. And I think that's the trauma, but so much more to that as well. But yeah, I think for all of us, I think it's a real time now for us to look at what worked this year for us. What went well? Are you happy with goals that you set? Did you achieve them? And if you hadn't, or you haven't yet, why is that? Because a lot of the time it could be the circumstance. It could be that you tried, it didn't quite work, or it could be that you keep putting that date back and back and back, and you just haven't tried yet. Now, that's very key to what I'm going to speak about next, because we're currently going through another eclipse portal. So if you are a cardinal sign this time round, so this is like Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, Libra. Yes, you are the ones. I had to pause for a moment. It's like, is there any more? No, that is it. You are the ones that are going to be affected the most by this. So the last 18 months, if you've been listening to the podcast, it hasn't been on that long, but I was talking about how the fixed signs were affected. So I am a fixed sign. I went through the war zone this last 18 months. I cannot tell you, I am coming into this new eclipse phase fresher than ever. And it's so crazy for me. And it's just really funny, actually, because a lot of people don't believe in astrology, and I absolutely get that. We are up to our own selves to decide what it is that we like, what it is that we believe in. I'm not one to judge on anyone's beliefs, but I was joining the dots up in my life. Again, I'm very a deep reflective person, and I was just thinking about every October that I've had for the last few years that I can recollect. And I've always had like mad transformational things happen in Octobers. And yeah, it's crazy to me, because I guess the best one was actually the best and worst, because that same year, so I was manifesting, this is when I was a dancer full time, all in. I was manifesting for that whole year that I was going to dance for Steph London. If you don't know who Steph London is, she's a British rapper, singer. She was really cool back then. She still is, to be honest. And I was manifesting it. And then in the October, I got the call from my agent to say that they want you to do the music video. And I was so grateful and excited and overwhelmed. That same October, I crashed my car and wrote it off. So massive transformational things tend to happen at that time. Also, I think one year I had like a massive fallout with lots of friends. Another year, I had like just last year, in fact, I had that just complete transformational like dark night of the soul again, and I was like inward and felt almost depressed again, like my skin had broken out, lots of shift had happened. And when I look at the astrology for that now, I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense, because this tends to be the time where the eclipse portals happen. So the old you, the old version of you, and I speak about this all the time, has to die for the new you to come through. Now, if you are not allowing that process to happen, and if you're not working towards, releasing the things that don't serve you, or making changes in your life, the changes will be made for you. And that has happened so many times in my life. I promise you, actually, if a lot of if obviously the pandemic didn't happen for one, but if lots of things like that didn't happen, like hardships, I wouldn't have been forced to make the changes. I would have just kept going. So it is, like I often say, I'm aware and I made these conscious changes, and I did. But a lot of the time it was down to circumstances and a need to have to do that. That's a lot about my life as a whole, really. Like I've lived a lot of my life in survival mode. So I think now not having to survive, that's a massive shift. But I had to come out of that myself through taking action on being forced to. So, and I think as well, that ties in with that feminine masculine energy I talk about quite a lot as well. How the masculine is doing and the feminine is being. But sometimes in these situations, you can't just be the same way you've always been. And that's where this beautiful combination of masculine and feminine energy tie in, because we need the one and the other. So anyway, back to this transformational phase. So a lot of my friends that have been fixed signs have also had a lot of struggles this recent 18 months. And it's crazy to me to actually watch how everything's been shifting for them, and for myself as well. I can't say anything major transformational has happened in terms of, oh, I manifested X amount of this or whatever. But to be honest with you, throughout this whole time that's been difficult, I have still been receiving manifestations. And it's because I believe and know that manifestation isn't about feeling positive and feeling happy all the time. It's about your self-worth. And I speak about this all the time, because that is literally my definition of manifestation is high and deep self-worth. The outcome will always be that you receive what you desire, because you are a match for it. Now, when you feel good externally, internally, obviously that amplifies. But generally, if you just know that I'm worthy and deserving of that, so regardless if I'm having a bad day or not, it's going to come in, it will. But even on that, what you believe is always true. And this is another thing about my identity, and this is where it's shifting for me. So Libra's in my third house. It's about my communication style and things like that. So these different ways of me implemented boundaries over the last 18 months, and how I connect with others, you know, even being in different rooms with different people, like that's all shifted for me so much. And even this month alone, I've got, you know, different speaking events and networking events with people that I've not met before, and it's just interesting to see. So although you may be skeptical about astrology and you may think it's a coincidence, for me it's very obvious that I can see that, and I love that because I've got a Capricorn moon, so I like strategic things as well. Like the way my brain processes things is like everything is in like a bit of a category, and that's why I stay organized even when things are a bit chaotic. I always remember and know what I need to do next. So for me to see that there is a clear line between, you know, astrology and the events that have happened in my life, for me just makes my life make sense, because a lot of it, as I've said before, I just felt numb and like I was going through the motions. So now I can finally see, actually, it all made sense and it happened for a reason. So that's a really nice, beautiful thing to happen. So if you haven't made that connection, or you don't really want to, obviously fine. But if you do, I would urge you to look up your chart, have a full chart reading, because we have 12 houses in astrology in our chart. So, you know, a lot of us just say, oh, the sun sign, the moon sign, the rising sign. There's so much more to it, honestly. And you know, if you've been listening to my podcast, you'll know that I kind of had that connection there. But it'd be really great for you to see that for yourself, because if there's always a time of year that something major happens, it no doubt is because of the shifts in your chart. 100% that. Like, for example, for me, Scorpio season, end of October, November time, that's always quite a dark time for me, but it's because Scorpio is all about introspection, and it rules my fourth house, which is the home, so how I live, my living environment. So it's really interesting to tie that all together now. And I guess my learning and my understanding of astrology is just deepened with age. You know, the more I kind of grow, I get more into it and I pick more things up. But I also have a really great memory, so I absorb things really well, which I didn't realize was such a thing actually until I've gotten older now, and I meet different people and they're like, how do you remember that? And I'm like, I don't know, I just do remember it. So yeah, anyway, back to the point, which is transformation and change, and how we embrace it, how we tie it in. Now, I don't think that was going to be the point, but it kind of is, so we're going to roll with it. Okay, I love these moments where I'm just like, you know what, I'm just talking, we'll see what happens, but clearly this is what needs to be happening. And I think it's important actually to talk about this, as I said, because the cardinal signs, you are in for this massive shift in your life. And because I've just come out the other side of it, I can give this advice really willingly and openly. And from experience, you know, I survived it. Even though I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes it was really hard. You know, the summer season for me was really difficult, but I think it was that last closing chapter. And if we look at it as seasons in within this eclipse season, you'll understand kind of how everything starts to shift. So I would say that the eclipse season is obviously the first phase. So this is what we're about to enter. And this will be a time for you to really have an overview of everything in your life. Like, what is working for you? As I said, what isn't working for you? What are your big goals and dreams? And how are your actions now leading you towards that? Because if you aren't acting on that right now, you aren't taking action to get you there, that is no doubt going to be something that happens and forces you to do it. So I would really try to make that clear list. So, you know, get out a bit of pen and paper. If you've got a journal it out. Like, what would be your dream life or your goals that you would like to achieve maybe by this time next year? So where would you like to be? Then on a separate piece of paper, I want you to write down, what are you doing right now to get you there? So if nothing comes up and you aren't taking any action, what can you do? You know, like if you want to change careers and go back into art, are you going back to drawing classes? Are you creating in your spare time? Have you got the equipment to even create art? You know, that could be your first step, is actually, do you know what? I'm going to go to the store this weekend and I'm going to buy all of the things that I want and need. And it could just be every week you buy something different, you try something new out. It's like, these are the things that are stepping you in the right direction to where you want to be. And that discernment as well. Like, for example, this could be a very drastic example, but it is one. If you are someone that suffers from addiction and your friends keep inviting you out and you want to be an artist, would it be a better choice to say, you know what? How about we do dinner and then I go home and do my art and you guys go out? That could be a really nice balance for you to find a step towards, one, still having a really nice balanced life, but two, stepping towards your dreams. And I'm not going to lie to you, it always seems crazy to people when you are passionate about something that's outside of the norm. You know, I've had it my whole life that I couldn't go to all the social events because I was dancing or I had class on or I had rehearsals, you know. And you know, I've seen, like, you know, people say the word obsessed. I was obsessed. But I think when you're passionate about something and or you want to be the best version of yourself in that thing, it does seem crazy to a lot of people that are just not doing that. Now, you don't have to be completely submerged in it for it to work, but there is an element of you that kind of does need to be like that, you know, because otherwise you're telling yourself you don't believe yourself. You know, your actions are telling you that actually, no, we think this will always be a side hustle and never be a real deal. So until you start to take it seriously, the universe will then do the same thing. It could even be down to, you know, your relationships in your life. And it could just be, you know what, I've been walked all over for a really large part of my life. I'm just not willing to do that anymore. Now, that is uncomfortable. I've been through it many times in my life, and I'll probably continue to go through it many times in my life because I'm dedicated to my growth. And I think we should all be, you know, and we should all be living from our highest selves and what works for us, not what works for everyone else. So sometimes you have to evaluate, you know, the friendships, the relationships in your life. Do they work for you? If you feel like you've been taken for granted and you're just tired of it and you're just over it, maybe now this is where you start to say, right, I'm not going to be going out of my way for everyone all the time now. So when so and so rings me up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, says they need my help to move their furniture at 8 p.m., and actually I've got a dinner planned and I don't want to cancel it, I'm going to be very clear and say, I'm very sorry, I can't do that this weekend. I'm busy, you know. And someone might be like, that's a really easy thing to do. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are like, oh, I can't because this thing, and we make excuses. Just say, do you know what? I need a break. You know, we're really allowed to have a break and a rest. And that's something that we don't normalize. Maybe that's it for you. Maybe you're working a million jobs like I did. And I still do to some extent. I'm not going to lie to you, but I have a balance now. And that's the main key here. I understand what my body needs and when it needs it, and I'm prioritizing rest. Now, this is an ongoing thing for me because obviously deep layered trauma, rah, rah, rah. We've heard my story many times. But yeah, how can you prioritize rest in your life? You know, maybe you are someone that has multiple hobbies, passionate about their job, has like passion projects on the side, but you are in burnout, but you know these things fulfill you, but equally you're not prioritizing just having a day off. You know, I think we all need a day off. And that means like not running around and running errands or life admin. I mean, a day to just like, you know, stay in your pajamas all day or watch your favorite TV show. Maybe you have like online training and stuff that you can do, but maybe you're doing it in your pajamas and you've got like a nice bit of snacks next to you and you're just chilling doing it, like that real relaxed moment. Especially for me, like as a dancer, you know, and still dance teaching, performing, you know, a little bit here and there, my body physically, I love the gym as well, don't get me wrong, like I am passionate about the gym and I love it, but since I've come back from holiday, which is nearly 2 weeks ago now, I've needed rest. My body has been screaming out for rest, and I took on lots of classes to cover, and you know, it's been beautiful. I've met some incredible people doing it, and I love dancing, as you all know, but my body can't do it all anymore, you know? And it's just listening to those signs, because what used to happen was I would ignore the signs to rest. Like, you know, you get like a bit of a niggle in your muscles, or you feel a bit sore, a bit tight, maybe you start to get a little bit of a sore throat. They're all signs that your body's like, I need to rest now. If you ignore them, it will get worse and worse and worse and worse. And this is the same when it comes to your healing journey. This is the same when it comes to transformation, because you are constantly getting little signs from the universe, from your inner self, from your highest self, on what you should be doing differently. And you'll often be presented with opportunities to take either road. So you could take a road from your higher self or from the same pattern that you've been creating. And it's always a little test from the universe, I think. And, you know, depending on what you choose will be the outcome. Because, you know, for me, when I've not listened to my body, then I've had like complete like spasm in my back and I couldn't move for a day, like, you know, or I then got like a flu or something like that. And even in that time, you know, I said about I had that big car crash, that was as a result of me doing like I think it might have even been 14 days in a row, you know. That was just normal for me to work 14 days in a row without a break. And when I was working 14 days in a row, I was working multiple jobs. Am I okay? Like, what was I doing? Honestly, I wish, why did someone not slap me? In fact, any of my friends listening to this right now, why did you not slap me? Do you know what I mean? It's not your fault, it's mine. I'll take that back. It was completely a me issue, but it's because I was running from my feelings, right? Now we feel the feelings. It's like, nah, do you know what? We need a break. And yeah, how can you create that in your life? You know, this is what all of this is happening for. Everything is happening in your favor, but often than not, more often than not, should I say, change feels uncomfortable because we are creatures of habit and we're creatures of comfort. So we will choose the easy, safe option over the scarier, more daring, more rewarding option because it's something we've not done before. And I think what I would urge you to do in that is kind of build your resilience for it. Like maybe do something, you know, that's a saying, right? Do something every day that scares you. So I think, you know, don't obviously not necessarily every day, but maybe it's like once a week you go out of your comfort zone. Maybe you work in one coffee shop every week. Maybe you're going to try a different coffee shop every week. You'll meet different people. Now, I'm a person that does this. So I like the same coffee shop I go to because it's local to me. It's near my gym. I know everyone there. But equally, when I'm in London, I do take my laptop and I'll go anywhere and I will just talk to anyone. But that takes time to build, you know. I think because I'm constantly around people all the time, I'm really comfortable to talk to anyone about anything. I mean, obviously I public speak as well, so that's obviously part of it. But if that's something that you want to be building, you know, more people skills, making new friends, building confidence, you need to be putting yourself in more rooms. It's a bit like that saying, you know, like you're single and you're sitting indoors, what you expecting your husband to come and knock on the door or knock your door down. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of those kind of moments where it's like, even with friends, are you just going to sit indoors and hope you find them? And actually you might make loads of cyber friends, but is that going to help you in a like real format? Because there's a little bit of a release when you meet friends online, and there's the serotonin, as we know from social media, that gets released, but it is short wins. Whereas obviously people connection is so much deeper. You know, you get that deeper layer of oxytocin, that connection. Yeah, it's so much more wonderful to connect in that way. So whatever that looks like for you, whatever transformation you are wishing for yourself, how can you make those steps now? Because I promise you, if you have a clear goal of that for this year, it will make this transition smoother because you are working with the astrology and the seasons to meet what is expected and is wanted of you from the universe. You know, I always say that we all have a deep purpose here in this world. You know, that little light that I say is inside of us that shines out, and we inspire so many people around us through being that beautiful light. If you are blocking yourself in that light, you know, if you are keeping yourself contained because it feels safe, you are doing yourself such a disservice and the world, because we need you to be your best self. We need you to show up in all your glory. And you know what? The universe loves a trier. You know why I know that? Because I'm a trier. And in all the times where I felt like the universe was going against me, it was always building up this story for me, this like ladder of, you know, every step that I've taken. You know, sometimes I've fallen back, sometimes I've fallen off and had to create a little ladder to get me back to the main ladder. It's like, you know, every single time it's all meant something, because even the clients I have now, more often than not, there's a resemblance in our story or a connection as to how and why that person's come to me, and it's because of everything that I've endured myself. So the setbacks are never the dead end. They're always a reboot. And I say that all the time. And I honestly think I've made that up. So, you know, if you hear it anywhere else, let me know, because I'm going to copyright that. I'm joking. Nothing is ever original, just to let you know. It always comes from somewhere. But yeah, I hope you're following me on this. I feel like I'm just having a really nice chat with whoever's listening. And if you know me, my conversations are very much like this, but I just feel like a nice relaxed episode is always welcome, because I think that's really what I think our souls are crying for at the moment as well. It's like, you know, it's almost, we are focused and driven towards creating the end of the year to be the best year we've ever been and all these amazing things. But equally, that element of comfort to know that, yeah, sometimes it is a little bit difficult, and, you know, we have to work consistently to get those goals. You know, it's not always what we want to hear, but it's the reality, you know. And what I would say is just be kind to yourself in everything, because yes, it's good to know that what it is you want, where you're going, how to get there, but equally to enjoy the process and to not shame yourself if you don't do the thing. You know, there are so ever many more days. I think I did have a story about this a couple of, when I got back from holiday, and I was like really prepared to make that Monday back the best Monday ever. And actually what I realized was I didn't have the energy. And often around these eclipse phases and the new moons, the full moons, I feel really tired, because I feel like, you know, we're 70% water, we're connected to the moon, rah, 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 I've said this before. But I just didn't want to. And I think that's okay, you know. I think if you're a driven person 70% of the time and 30% you're not, that's okay. You know, and if your body rhythm doesn't work with, you know, doing lots of things, how can you strip it back? Because you need to be creating the life that you want to live. I'm going to say that again. You need to be creating the life you want to live. You create it. So you can choose and discern what you take on, when you take it on, how you do things. That is all in your control. So when I get people say to me, oh, I can't do this because of this, I'm like, why? Why? Because is it because you don't want to do it like that? Or is it because someone has told you it can't be done that way? Because I promise you, there are people here out in this world making millions of pounds doing something so random. You know, like literally, there are people out here less qualified than you doing the thing that you want to do and getting paid millions for it. Look at the influencer world, for example. You know, no one in a million years, like let's say in our parents or grandparents generation, would they believe that someone would be making £1 million through talking to a screen? Talking to a screen and millions of people believing them and buying what they're selling, you know. And this is all it, because this is the way the world's changed. Now, don't get me wrong, that's also part of what I do, you know, like in my work, and I love all of that concept and reality. And I think we all have, I'm using that example to show you that we can all be whatever we want to be, right? And that people will believe and follow it if you do. You know, if you believe that you are an incredible artist, show the world that. And actually, even on that, it's not up to anyone else to judge your art. It's just about you to create it. And I think that's a quote from Martha Graham. She's the pioneer of modern dance, for anyone that doesn't know. So in the contemporary dance world, she created a whole style, really. And yeah, she said that quote, and I remember learning that at uni, and it stayed with me. And I've actually shared it with a lot of non-performer friends, because I think it's so relative to anything we create, and whether that's content, you know, whether that's art, whether it's comedy, or, you know, writing, whatever it is inside of you that you feel like you need to share, let it out. Because, you know, life waits for no one as well. You know, for someone that's experienced a lot of death, I think that's why it's really important for me to, why I'm so passionate as well about sharing this concept and message, because I just feel like we don't have as much time as we think we do, but we also have all the time in the world, the double-edged sword. And I just feel like you've just got to go for it, you know, and whether it's baby steps or whether it's all in, you've just got to go for what it is you want. Because ultimately, if you don't make that choice, it will be made for you by the universe. And it might not always be smooth, you know. The healing journey is exactly the same. I always say this to my clients or potential clients when they come to me. They always say, I'm going to wait till I'm ready, or wait till I feel like I'm in that situation where I need to do it. I urge you to not wait till you need to do something like that, because when you do need to do it, you'll be so in the seat of despair and feel so helpless that you actually won't be able to take on board the guidance and support. Whereas if you can listen and absorb, find what works for you in a space where you are just grounded and open, when you do need it, you fall into that space of needing to have support or help, you will actually be able to have your own tools even before that to help you out of that situation. It's almost like if you fell down a side of a cliff, for example, and you're hanging on, if you had a toolkit in your bag, you could just swing out your tools, climb your way up. If you fall down that side of the cliff without any tools, you are literally clinging on for dear life and hoping by the sheer will of your soul that you will climb your way up there. Now, I have been there many of times. Now, when I go through a phase of healing again, because as I always say, healing is circular, not linear, I have so many tools in my bag. I can literally just climb my way up within days, within moments, because I know how to get my way out of that situation. And this is the same with this transformation that's happening for you in your life right now. If you're going through it, if you're about to go through it, or inevitably you will at some point, how can you make that an easy transition for yourself? You don't have to fall. You don't have to allow yourself to get to rock bottom or to everything around you to crumble. You can move pieces out of your way now already. If there is someone in your life that is just a Debbie Downer and is just bringing you down, maybe you just distance yourself from them from now. Maybe you cut contact. If you were in a toxic relationship and you're like, you know what, now's the time, make those changes. And if you live with someone like that, maybe it's that you start looking for other places to live. Like you're making the shifts ready, so then the universe doesn't make them for you and make them painful, because that is ultimately what we need sometimes. It's like that kick up the backside. That's the universe. It feels awful. For example, trying to think of that something that's not too horrible, but say you're with a partner that is abusive to you. Maybe they have an affair, right? And then that would be the sign from the universe to you to be like, gosh, I should have left ages ago. Now they've done this, right? And in those moments, life is a journey. Whatever's meant to be will be inevitably, but we can work with the universe. This is what I'm saying. We don't always need to be a victim of circumstance. And sometimes we do, because that's what shapes us. And we need to go through those journeys to become the version of ourselves we are now. Maybe that happens, and then you go through this healing journey, go through this process, and then you help other people through that situation. And that was why that needed to happen. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes we can help ourselves. And that's what I need to show you, that there is two sides to this always. And there is another side always as well. There's always a higher road, or, you taking the most easiest, well, I say the easiest, it's not the easiest. Always the most difficult option that we have in this crossroad of our life is always the one that will bring us closer to what it is we want. But we more than often don't want to take that route. And I've had to take that route many times in my life because it felt like there was no other choice. And I do feel like in a roundabout way, I've always got to where I'm supposed to be. It just feels longer, but it was never longer. It was necessary, because I've gained tools and skills and, wisdom that I think a lot of older people that I know don't have, and that's not me trying to be arrogant. That's me trying to show you that this all happens for a reason and a purpose. So ultimately, transformation and change is inevitable. We can work with it to our advantage, or we can be a victim to circumstance and situations, which I urge you to try not to be. Now, sometimes we have no control, and more often than not, we don't have any control. But if we can take action for ourselves, because ourselves, who we are, is the only thing we can control. We can only control our own behavior patterns and how we choose to see things. That is really all your power there. And that all comes down to the self-awareness game. So you do hold the power. Regardless if you feel helpless right now, regardless if it feels hard, you hold the power. You have the full, capacity to be everything and anything you want to be. So I urge you to start being it. take a step in these next few days, few weeks, few months to get you closer to where you want to be. Because I promise you, it'll be a smoother transition than if the universe did it for you. I wish you a smooth and easy eclipse season, but just know that everything is always working in your favor and working for you. I'm sending you so much love and light. And if you do need any of my help and support for any of this, this is all of my work. I'll help you through these difficult moments and shape you into that most confident version of yourself and let that light come out and shine bright, because that's who you are and who you deserve to be. And as always, links to my journal and everything are in the show notes. But yeah, please as well, if anyone has any questions you ever want to ask me, you can actually add them to whatever platform you're listening to. I would love to have questions to answer. I'm really open to that, how I can help. And also follow me on socials, because I'd love to hear your experience. And also, yeah, if you have anyone that you want to come on the show, or if you want to come on the show, I've had quite a few people message me to join me. I'd love to have you on. But next week I'm joined by another amazing guest. It was lovely to just share and just talk and have a conversation with you this week, so thank you for giving me that space. And as I said, I hope that this eclipse season brings you the transformation that you deserve, and that you can ignite that power inside of you, because you deserve it. Give yourself the permission to shine. Lots of love.